For followers of various kinds of Bön religions, Mount Kailash and the surrounding area is one of the most important, if not the most important, sacred region on the whole of Tibetan plateau, and is referred to as Bön Ri, the Bön Mountain. Particularly, Mount Kailash played the most important role as the spiritual center of Shangchung Empire, where Bön, and in particular Yungdrung Bön, was the state religion. I just use plural for Bön religions here deliberately, because the word Bön, besides its other meanings, refers to four major groups of spiritual traditions. The first one is Dhami Bön, prehistoric Bön of Shangchung and Tibet. This is the most ancient kind of Bön and was practiced on Tibetan plateau prior to arrival there of Tönpa Shenrab. It included many ritual traditions addressed to various classes of gods and spirits, and is often loosely labeled shamanic, although the label is not at all satisfactory. We cannot go into particulars now due to the lack of time. The second is Yungdrung Bön, religion of swastika, sometimes also known as Bön Nyingma or Old Bön. This is the teachings of the Central Asian Buddha Muratahen, who was born in Olmo Lungring, the central region of a larger Central Asian land called Takzik, somewhere to the northwest of Mount Kailash. Muratahen is known in Tibet as Tönpa Shenrab Miwoche, which can be translated as Supreme Teacher of Men. So, Yungdrung Bön is a Buddhist doctrine in a large sense of the word. The third is Bön Sarma, or New Bön, a syncretic tradition which emerged in the 8th century AD as a result of the amalgamation of Yungdrung Bön and Shakyamuni's Buddhism. Bön Sarma was created on the orders of Tibetan Emperor Trisong Deutsen. Although on the ritual side, followers of New Bön use methods in which Yungdrung Bön and Indian Buddhism are mixed. As far as the doctrinal base is concerned, they rely firmly on the Yungdrung Bön canon. The threefold division is the traditional classification found in Yungdrung Bön and Bön Sarma sources. However, it doesn't take into account many traditions which arose as a result of these three types of Bön interacting and mixing in different proportions, often with additions of elements from other religions such as Hinduism, Taoism, native Siberian traditions, and so on. So this kind of eclectic traditions is the fourth kind of Bön, which I label mixed Bön. Mount Kailash is important to all of these Bönpo traditions to varying degrees, but in this presentation I will mostly focus on Yungdrung Bön, because this tradition is still very much alive and has a large body of literature and oral traditions relating to Mount Kailash, and also because it is the tradition I am most familiar with. But before we focus on Yungdrung Bön, I want to take a brief look at Dhami and Ngari priests of Humla in Nepal. Their tradition can mostly be described as prehistoric Bön, but with some later influences from Hinduism. Dhami are possessed by the gods residing on Kailash, while Ngari act as interpreters when Dhami are delivering prophecies in trance. Both must make a pilgrimage to Kailash and Lake Mapang, Manasarovar, to perform purification rituals, get initiated, receive and recharge their powers. As you can see on the slide, Dhami and Ngari ritual dress consists of a white turban decorated with tufts of wool and a white gown, and is all but identical to depiction of Bönpo priests in the old Bönpo manuscript. It also corresponds closely to the headdresses worn by practitioners of the first vehicle of the causal ways of Yungdrung Bön, and to that of the Aya Bönpo studied by Charles Rambo in the Arya, Fragments of an Unknown Tibetan Priesthood. Before Tönpa Shenrab Miwo came to Shangchung, Mount Kailash was known under its ancient Shangchung name Yabakshara, after the eponymous worldly god Gangyen Yabakshara, who resides in the mountain. This is how he is described in the offering prayer to Tise, taken from Ponsechung Gonzal's terma discovered at Zhangzang Hladra. Che, from the center of Samboling rises the supremely high, resplendent white snow peak. Inside this impregnable crystal snow rock dwells the lord of the snow mountain Tetse, great being of the highlands of the southern continent, whose body is like a snow-clad mountain. He wears a great cloak of white crystal over his body. His head is crowned with a white crystal ornament. His hair is bound with smooth white silk, and his feet are shod in silver boots. In his right hand he holds a spear of shining crystal from which a white silk banner flutters. In his left hand, he raises up the great parasol of sun and moon. He is adorned with a beautiful garland of precious jewels. A crystal Yungdrung swastika spins on top of his head, and exquisite white silk brocade ripple on his body. As he rides his steed, a crystal white lion, the turquoise saddle creaks, the rainbow saddle cloth flutters, the golden crupper jingles, and the great parasol of sun and moon sways. When Buddha Tönpa Shenrab came to Zhang Zhung from Central Asia to bless and protect the land from negativities arising from the 5 poisonous emotions of sentient beings, anger, pride, attachment, envy, and ignorance, which manifest externally as gods, demons, diseases, and various natural calamities, he transformed into a huge white yak and entered Mount Yabakshara, where he manifested the mandala of Yonten Valchen Gike, a wrathful Buddha form, emanation of Buddha's quality. So the mountain and its surrounding were turned into a support for the 360 Yidam deities of this Bönpo Tantric cycle. That is why Tönpa Shenrab named Mount Yabakshara Tse. T means water in Zhang Zhung language and refers to the mountain being the source of the 4 great rivers of Asia, Indus, Brahmaputra, Karnali, and Sutlej. Se means guardian deity and refers to the warrior god form of Valchen Giko, known as Zhang Zhung Meri, who resides there. There is another spelling, Te-tse, which means water peak. Scholars identify Mount Tse as either the world mountain Mount Meru on the left and or Mount Yungdrung Bön on the right. Mount Yungdrung Bön rises in the center of Wolmolung Ring, the land where Tönpa Shenrab was born. This is a tricky point because texts such as the 3 versions of Tönpa Shenrab's hagiography, Dodu, Zermik, and Zibji, and other texts are cryptic and often contradictory. You need to be well versed in both textual and oral sources to fathom this, and Yungdin Lopon Tenzin Namdak Rinpoche, the current head teacher of Yungdrung Bön, is one such person. He maintains that Mount Tse is compared to Mount Meru, the center of the world, simply because Tse is in the center of Zamboling, the southern continent, which roughly corresponds to Central and Southern Asia. Several Bönpo texts describe Mount Tse as the uncreated and spontaneously perfect crystal snow stupa of 9 layers of swastika, resting on the throne of an 8-petaled lotus. Externally, it resembles the realm of Brahma. Internally, 3,000 places of Valchen Giko, and secretly, it serves as gathering place for the mother and sister Khandro. For this reason, it is venerated by counterclockwise circumambulation, which is the Bönpo direction of purification and return to the original Buddha nature. This description resembles that of Mount Yungdrung Bön in Wolmolung Ring. However, Wolmolung Ring and its central mountain lie northwest of Tse in the pure dimension. Consequently, as with Mount Meru, we see their names and topology superimposed onto the Tse region in some texts. We can easily see the logic behind this with a simple modern-day example. In Canada and USA, there are over 20 cities, townships, and communities called pares, but they are not the pares of France. They were named after the original French pares by settlers or because of some connection to the original city. Mount Tse and Lake Mapang Yutso, or Madru Dangra, as it is called by Bönpos, are venerated as La-ri and La-tso, the La Mountain and La Lake of the Zhang Zhung emperors and indeed all people of Zhang Zhung and later Tibet. This brings us onto the question, what is La? La is a very complex Bönpo concept with no direct equivalent in any other religion. It even means different things in prehistoric Bön and Yungdrung Bön. In prehistoric Bön, it might be loosely associated with the idea of soul, while in Yungdrung Bön it is basically a function of Bakchak, the karmic traces accumulated by an individual or nation, and how they impact both internal and external elements. On individual level, this results in a long or short life, wealth or poverty, health or illness, etc., while on the external plane, it plays out as good or bad situations and environmental conditions experienced by the nation as a whole. So Tse and Mapang acted as la-ne, or receptacles of La, for the whole nation of Zhang. Any changes in the appearance and conditions of the mountain or lake were seen as positive or negative portents, followed by positive or negative events of national importance. Lake Mapang serves as residence for Naga Queen Lumo Wodenma and her retinue of 100,000 water spirits. It also conceals the wish-fulfilling tree and unimaginable treasures. To the left of Lake Madro-Dangra, as you see on this satellite photo, lies Lake Rakshatsal, known to the Bönpos as Mule Tso, meaning Silver Lake. The Queen of Drabli Jalmo, resides here. She is an emanation of Sipi Jalmo, the Queen of Existence, the principal guardian of Yungdrung Bön. Drabli Jalmo is the consort of Walchengi Ke, who resides in Mount Tise. Mount Tise was spiritual axis of Zhang Empire and cradle of Yungdrung Bön on the Tibetan plateau. It was consecrated by Buddha Tönpa Shenrab himself and continuously blessed by the presence and practice of numerous Bönpo sages and practitioners. As such, the area is full of holy sites of Yungdrung Bön. We don't have time to go into detail, so I will just highlight the main points pertaining to the spread, decline, and revival of Yungdrung Bön in this region. The most important event was, of course, the arrival of Tönpa Shenrab from Volmolungring during the reign of Trije Laver Sergi Jarochen, the first of the 18 Zhang emperors, bearers of the horned crown of Garuda. These emperors lived at the castle of Gajang Yulu Dzong, situated in front of Mount Tise, at the foot of Mount Poringeden. According to some sources, it was Tönpa Shenrab himself who built the famous Chunlung Gulkar, the silver palace of Garuda Valley, located 1 day's walk from Tise. This happened during the period of his second deed, the deed of spreading the teachings. One of his sons, Khonsa Wangden, was born in this palace. From him, the Shen bloodline was passed on over the millennia and is still alive today in Tibet. Opinions vary as to the exact location of this palace, and I am keeping an open mind. But since I have recently co-translated an article on this subject by Lama Tsuntrim Puntsok of Gurjam Monastery, I present his version here. Lama Tsuntrim Puntsok maintains that Chunlung Gulkar was located approximately 2 kilometers to the east of Gurjam at Kardong Nashul. On this satellite photo, you can see the remains of the defense walls marked red and ruins of various buildings and 2 wells marked by white circles. Next to it is a reconstruction painting by Tempi Nima. Other significant Bönpo masters hailed from Chunlung Gulkar too, in particular Jipun Drempa Namka and then his twin sons Tsewang Ringzin and Pema Tondro, who all were born there. From here they practiced, achieved realization and spread Bönpo Tantra and Dzogchen far and wide beyond Zhang and Tibet. Zhang Zhung Nyengyu, the oral transmission of Dzogchen from Zhang, is the most important Dzogchen lineage in Yungdrung Bön, because since it was taught by Tönpa Shenrab, it has never been interrupted and is still alive today. The current lineage holder is my master, Yungdzin Lopon Tenzin Namdak Rinpoche. All the early lineage holders of this tradition lived around Mount Tise. They also practiced Zhang Meri as their tantric yidam and attained the rainbow body of light in this region. The early lineage holders, Tapihritsa and Nangzher Lödpo, were crucial for preserving Yungdrung Bön in Zhang and Tibet in the 7th-8th centuries AD, at the time the expanding Tibetan Empire was encroaching on Zhang. The takeover started with Tibetan Emperor Srongtsen Gampo, and his grandson, Trisong completed it by killing the last Zhang Ligmincha emperor. At the same time, Trisong's predominantly Buddhist government unleashed a wave of repressions on Yungdrung Bön. The Ligmincha emperor's widow queen beseeched Nangzher Lödpo to intervene. Using an auxiliary method of Zhang Meri Tantra, he hurled the magic Zo missile to Tibet, and Trisong fell mortally ill. You can see Nangzher Lödpo with the magic missile on this Tsakali initiation card. Trisong guessed where the missile came from and sent ambassadors to Zhang to make a deal with Nangzher Lödpo, who was residing on an island in Lake Daro. The deal was, Nangzher Lödpo reversed the curse and Trisong stops persecuting Yungdrung Bön. Both held the end of their bargain. Realizing the time had come to spread the teachings of Yungdrung Bön more widely, Tapihritsa permitted Nangzher Lödpo to break with tradition and teach Zhang Zhung Nyengyu to more than one disciple. Although this persecution impacted severely on Yungdrung Bön in central Tibet, in Shangshung, 360 types of Bön were preserved in full, thanks to Nangzher Lödpo. Although deprived of the status of state religion over the next few hundred years, Yungdrung Bön was practiced continuously in the Tise region, which became part of Ngari, Western Tibet, from around 930 AD onwards. However, during the reign of King Hla Lama Yeshe Wö, who initiated what became known as the second diffusion of Buddhism, Chidar, Yungdrung Bön was persecuted again, this time in its heartland. Dzogchen was particularly singled out as a heretical teaching. Biography of King Hla Lama Yeshe Wö and some of his decrees have recently come to light, and they show clearly that he banned the teachings of Tantra and Dzogchen and ordered punishment for anyone practicing them. So I quote, "The followers of the Ati, the Bön, divination, the astrological science from Shangshung, such as the perverted astrology of Kate Tan, in contradiction to the Agama and opposed to the logical reasoning. These erroneous matters are not to be taught and not to be exposed to others. The books that deal with them are not to be kept. Those who teach them and keep the books shall be punished in accordance with the Che. For the minor offenses, the culprit shall do more than 100 prostrations. If the person still keeps the books shall be burned, and the person shall be told 3 times not to keep the books again. If there is no improvement, and his bad spirit is not calmed, he shall be banished to another country with a written letter stating, this is how he committed the perversion." Harsh punishment amounting to genocide were also enacted. I quote again, "All the Bönpo of the province were herded inside the houses and burned alive. Bönpo books were thrown into the river, buried underground, or cast into the wind. Your wisdom shone like the light rays, like fire burning wood. Your wisdom banished the dense darkness of ignorance in Tibet, and all the wrong views of Bönpo were scorched." These draconian measures forced Bönpo masters in Tise region to go into hiding in remote places or leave. Bönpo Tantra and Dzogchen, particularly Zhang Zhung Nyengyu, were taken by lamas of the Yangtung clan to what was once Lower Shangshung in modern-day Nepal, to Mustang and Dölpo, where the teachings were preserved, taught and practiced. From around 14th century, Bönpo lamas once again returned to Tise to visit or settle. A famous example is 19th century Bönpo master Karu Drubwan Tenzin Rinchen. Karu Drubwan not only traveled and practiced intensively around Tise, he also wrote a most elaborate Bönpo guide to this sacred land called Kang Tise Karchag, the guide to the snow Mount Tise. I'm sure most of the scholars present here consulted this. And to bring us up to the modern era, in 1924, Kyabje Chuntrul Rinpoche came to Ngari, former Shangshung, now Western Tibet, and in 1936 he established the Gurjam Study Center of Sutra and Tantra at Chunlung Wulkar, where he revived the ancient Bönpo teachings, sciences, and culture. Today, the Gurjam is now thriving under the guidance of Lama Tsultrim Punso. So, this was a short presentation on the role of Mount Kailash in Bön. Thank you.